Message from Sunnahfollowers. This is from Sheikh Saleh. We need to unite. Sisters, wear your hijab. Wear your beards. Be proud of your beards. Stay home, stay home, stay in your home. Stand up, unite, and stand for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's right, Saleh. We all should stand up in solidarity, not transgressing the limits of Allah, but standing together with patience and understanding. This is Sunnahfollowers.
With dignity, humility, and balance.
If you want to learn about how to balance and maintain your faith every day, you need to be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, being taught by Laila Nasheeba, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Hope to see you there, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yusuf and this is Ayub. And if you are benefiting like we are from the classes and the ongoing programming, tuning into the Sunnahfollowers, please donate. Let this be an ongoing sadaqah jariyah on your behalf. You're helping the kids, the converts, and everyone seeking knowledge. And it's a wealth of information every day you tune in. Don't forget, you are being rewarded for your generous donations to keep this programming on air. You know, just like what you're hearing, put your dollar where the dollar's at, right here on Sunnahfollowers. Don't forget, donate right here to Sunnahfollowers and dollars are Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Listen, we are in dire need of donations to keep these shows running and available for you 24/7. So that means when you're in the car, it's available for you to listen to. Whether you're at work, streaming, playing a game, it's available for you to listen to. Rowing your deed and learning about the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful different topics of Islam. Listen, one of the heaviest deeds that could be placed on your scale on the Day of Judgment is Sadaqah Jariyah. Yes, I know, I'm trying to build deeds daily. So you can too. So listen, feel free, and please, from the bottom of your heart, donate to this wonderful cause, wonderful website and platform to continually push out shows that will benefit you and the Muslim Ummah. Yes, you can donate by going to the sunnahfollowers.net website, pressing the donate tab. You can also scan the QR code in YouTube on the far left top of our videos that are streaming. Listen, guys, this is very important, and take this as important. We want to keep this programming available for you 24/7 so that you have access in your car, anywhere you choose to tune in to this wonderful programming. Yes, guys, it's all at your disposal. So listen, feel free to donate. Once again, remember, Sadaqah Jariyah, one of the heaviest deeds on your scale on the Day of Judgment. Sunnahfollowers presents a new hadith class taught by Ustada Laila Nasheeba, Riyadus Salihin, every Monday and Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
Tell me about the soul. When death comes, what will follow? What will be revealed when you go? Is a question that we all must know. Do you know about the soul?
Assalamu alaikum. A brand new upcoming class on the book by Sheikh Karim Abuzaid, The Souls of the Dead, being taught by Ustada Laila Nasheeba. Yes, right here, every Saturday and Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. You are not going to want to miss this. Join us. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. This week on the Ask Sister Laila Live show, pure natural inclination towards faith and goodness, the Fitrah, which was placed in every human being. So it's awakened in you. You yearn for the truth and a deeper connection with Allah. So what do we do when we are living amongst those that are the opposite of the natural enlightenment? We will dive into strategies for living in a secular society, such as prioritizing core practices, ways to protect our fitrah, surrounding oneself with a good faith-filled community, which in itself combats feelings of loneliness, renewing our intentions, and much, much more. Tune in Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern as Ustada Laila Nasheeba explores this very important topic on the Fitrah, its impact, its position, and role. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
You will make it through. The Fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The Fitrah is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Aqidah class, and this is a class that's based on the book written by Dr. Karim Abuzaid entitled Diluting Al Wala Wal Bara, Volume 2. And in Volume 2 of this book, we begin by speaking about the awakening of the heart. The awakening of the heart, which occurs when the Fitrah within the heart has been awakened. And as everyone here should now understand, what is it that causes the Fitrah to be awakened? It's when we undergo some type of dramatic or traumatic encounter in our personal life, because the Fitrah is that light within the heart that is seeking the truth, that is seeking submittance. Submittance to what? That's the key. What is the Fitrah seeking submittance to? Who can answer that question for me? What is the Fitrah seeking submittance to? Can anyone answer that question?
Is it the will of Allah?
Exactly. It is seeking submittance to the will of Allah. We cannot leave that out. It's not seeking submittance to man. It's not seeking submittance to its desires. It's not seeking submittance to nature. It's seeking submittance to Allah's will, because this is what we as humans struggle with. This is what we as Muslims, even though we profess to be Muslims, this is what we struggle with. You will never be a Muslim, because what does the word Muslim mean? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of the Arabic term Muslim?
One in submission to the will of Allah.
Yes, Muslim is an Arabic word that means one who submits to the will of Allah. You will never be a Muslim until you submit to Allah's will. So we may refer to ourselves as being Muslim, but the majority of us are not. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every nation of people has its pagans. The pagans of my nation are those who do not submit to the will of Allah. The Muslims today, and this is the year 2025, we have a big problem. We have a problem comprehending the lordship of Allah, which in Arabic, when you guys hear these brothers and sisters using Arabic, when they refer to Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, they are referring to the lordship of Allah. This is where we lose it. We have a problem believing in the lordship of Allah. We say we do, but that's just the tongue speaking. We look at how we live our lives as Muslims. We see that we really don't believe in Allah's lordship. If I look at your Facebook pages, I look at your social media pages here in 2025, I can see from what you're posting on your social media pages, most of you, 95% of you, do not believe in the lordship of Allah. Because if you did, you would not post the nonsense that you post on social media. You would not be protesting against Allah's decree. You would not complain against his decree. And that's what the majority of you are doing in your everyday lives. Okay? Tawheed ar-Rububiyyah, the lordship of Allah. Most of us don't accept it. Most of us don't believe in it, although we claim we do. So the Fitrah within our heart will never reawaken until we accept and believe in Allah's lordship. And believing in that lordship entails believing that there is no power, there is no might other than Allah. That means that not only is Allah the creator of everything good, and that means he's also the creator of everything bad and evil too. He's the creator of war. Allah is the creator of war. War would never happen unless Allah said, boom. If Allah didn't say, boom, there wouldn't be any war. Just like if Allah didn't say be, nothing would exist. Just like if Allah didn't say die, there wouldn't be no death. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the lordship of Allah. We Muslims struggle with that reality just as the non-Muslims struggle with it. We're no different. Some of us are worse than the non-Muslims with that, unfortunately. Okay? So your Fitrah, you can do all the prayers you want, give all the charity you want. You can recite all the verses of the Quran with the most beautiful tajweed, the kalqara, the tanween, and your fitra still has not been ignited because you have not accepted the lordship of Allah. Some of us stay in that state until death overtakes us, unfortunately. But for the few, and I say few, we do encounter moments when there will come that awakening of the Fitrah. I refer to it as the total eclipse of the heart, where we will encounter something in our lives that will cause the trigger. And tonight, we're going to end this wonderful chapter of the book. For those of you watching me on this program here, make sure that you open a tab on your cell phone to YouTube and go to my channel Sunnahfollowers, and click on the live screen so you can see the PowerPoint that I'm getting ready to present on the screen right now, because I'm going to give you a brief quiz before I end out this chapter. Brief quiz, very brief, and you should be able, everyone should be able to answer the questions here. And for those of you who have not yet purchased the book, this is the book, Diluting Al Wala Wal Bara, Volume 2, the red and black. And we'll be ending this chapter, pages 91 through 94, the awakening, the total eclipse of the heart. We're going to end it by speaking about how once the heart has eclipsed and the Fitrah has awakened, we then embrace allegiance and disassociate from everything that stands between that awakening and what will cause that awakening to dim. But let's go over a couple of questions just to make sure you guys understand the awakening process. Question number 1, I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios and see if you can recognize what triggered these scenarios. Let's see if you can recognize what triggered these scenarios, because it could be you. Maybe something could happen in your life to trigger such a scenario for you, an awakening for you. Abdullah reads a verse of the Quran. This verse inspires him so much that he stops smoking. This is an example of which type of awakening? Is it an example of divine guidance? Because we spoke over the past 2 weeks about how some awakenings can be divinely inspired. What does that mean? The word divine, because I've had several sisters ask the question, what does divine mean? This is an English word, and we don't use it in American English. We don't use the word divine in American English. Okay, divine means comes from God. It means godly. I want everybody to write that down. Divine means godly. It comes from God. So when you hear divine guidance, it means guidance that was brought on by God. In other words, Allah's guidance. So Abdullah reads a verse of the Quran that touches his heart in such a manner that it inspires him to quit smoking. Is that divine guidance or godly guidance? Or Is this an example of influential guidance? In other words, he was guided by an influential person. Or is this an example of self-discovery? When he read that verse of the Quran, did it inspire him to discover himself? Or is this more an example of spiritual craving? Now remember, it could be all four, but which one is most correct? Which one is most correct of these answers? Which answer?
Divine guidance.
And why do you say divine guidance?
Yeah, divine guidance.
Why would you say it's more that?
I say it's more that because he was being inspired by reading the Quran, and the Quran is the word of Allah. So that's why I say it's by divine guidance.
Do you guys agree with her answer? Does everyone agree that is most correct?
I agree. I know.
Good job. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. The most correct answer would be divinely guided. You know, and that can happen to any of us. A lot of times it can happen to most of you. Many of you were divinely guided. I want y'all to write down the meaning of divine, because I was surprised to find out that a lot of you American Muslims who speak English, this is your language, you didn't know what the word divine means. Divine, I tell you guys, don't be ashamed to carry a dictionary in your pocket. Believe it or not, I keep a dictionary on my cell phone. Okay? Okay, divine means godly. I know we don't hear this word much, especially in American English, because we speak more hip-hop English. Even, you know, Americans use hip-hop English. We have a dictionary called urban. Our language, the English in America, has become so torn and filtered and destroyed that we have an urban dictionary now. Okay, so don't be ashamed. Carry a dictionary. Divine means godly. Okay, it's not a word that you hear every day, so don't be ashamed to ask or look up the meaning. So this is more divinely, more godly, because like she said, the words came from Allah. And the Quran, I want everyone to write it down. The Quran is not the creation of Allah either. The Quran is not the creation of Allah. The Quran is the words of Allah. This is Allah speaking to us. So it's definitely divinely guided. Those are the words of Allah. Allah is telling you something. He's communicating to us on purpose to touch our heart. So that definitely is divinely, godly inspired. Good job. Okay, here's another scenario. I tried to keep the quizzes real simple for you guys today, because you may encounter a total eclipse of the heart, an awakening of the heart. Look at the next scenario. Amina, she feels that her life is missing something. She feels empty. Her life seems to be empty, and she feels that she's lacking something in her life. So she makes a decision to move to Morocco to be around Muslims. She decides she doesn't want to live in a secular world anymore, a secular environment. So she decides to get more primitive, more closer to Allah, away from all this secularism. So she moves to Morocco to be around more Muslims, a more Islamic environment. This is an example of which type of awakening? Is it more of an example of spiritual craving and inner conflict? Or is this more of an example of an awakening due to adversity? And adversity means hardship. That's a synonym for the word hardship. Or is this an example of an awakening of the heart due to a near-death experience? Or is this an example of an awakening due to recognizing Allah's pleasure? It could be either one, but which one is this most likely related to? Okay, Sister Akiz and Sister Sakina said spiritual craving and inner conflict. What do you guys think? You guys agree?
I agree.
Yes.
Good job. Exactly. And why do y'all think it's more of a spiritual crave and an inner conflict?
Well, for me, living in the West, in the Western Hemisphere, living in America, there's nothing much you can do on your spiritual base because there's so many different things here. But if I move to Morocco, I know that there I can get submersed in my religion and knowing that I can go out and nobody's looking at me strangely. And that will stop the inner conflict of should I put on my hijab, should I not put on my hijab? Because I know there you have to put it on, and it's a requirement that if you go out of your house, you have to have it on.
Exactly. The fact that she feels that she's empty, that she's missing something, that's her desire. That's the conflict. Like they're saying, she's suffering with inner conflict. She's lacking something, missing something. She feels spiritually empty. Spiritually, she's craving something in this secular environment where everything here is not about religion. It's not about, rules and obligations. So moving to a Muslim country, like you're saying, she's obligated. You're expected to have some type of religious standards, some type of religious morals. So that's why it's more of a spiritual craving and an inner conflict craving. Good job.
Can I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
Add something that's going to be in addition to this week's Friday Access to Laila Live.
Exactly.
Being that she's craving that, she also wants to be part of an environment where it's a community, like-minded people. They're faith-based. They keep you in line. They keep you reminded. You can feel like you belong. You defeat the loneliness. So this is the reason why she's craving, because not only is she saying that, she doesn't feel like, the conflict of putting the hijab, being looked down on or whatnot. If everyone around you is doing the same thing and they're promoting the positivity, and you guys all know what you are doing this for, you want to do it. So that is bringing you to those people in that community that's going to keep you encouraged in doing right and keeping your fitra strong.
Exactly. And like she said, this is going to be our topic Friday for the Ask Sister Laila live show, my Islam Q&A show on Friday. One of the sisters made the $100 donation, and this is the topic. We're going to talk about that Friday. Now that your Fitrah has been reawakened, how can we keep it? How can we maintain that connection to Allah? And like in this scenario here, this sister's Fitrah is awakened. How can she keep it open? Sometimes we may have to migrate. We may have to change our environment. Just like in the scenario yesterday, the story of Ibn Fudail, okay? Some of the early companions, some of the tabi'een, they moved. They changed their environment to not go back to being highway robbers, and alcoholics. You may have to change your environment to keep your Fitrah awakened, to keep it alive, to not go back to your old ways. Because remember, you're not a revert. That's why I was telling you, get the terminology together. You're not a revert. You're a convert. You can never revert to how you were before you came to this world, because nothing in this world will ever resemble anything in the hereafter. We can never go back to how we were before Allah had our souls blown into our mother's womb. That will never happen. You will never revert to how you were up there, but you can convert into a new lifestyle, into a new identity, into a new minhaj, into a new way of thinking. So if we would get the terms, the terminology together, that's the beginning. Stop calling yourself reverts. You're not a revert. When you revert, you bring into this way of life your jahiliyyah, your ignorance, that smoking, drinking, sexing, talking to women, where there's no relationships. I want you new shahadas to really understand there's no relationships between men who are not your husband. Whatever friendships you had with men, you have to let that go. I don't care if you grew up with him. He can't be your friend anymore. He's not your husband. You can't sit around talking on the phone all night, WhatsApping, FaceTiming men who are not your husband. This is zina in Islam. I don't care if you've known him since you were 2 years old. He's not your husband. This is zina. You have to let that go. We don't have relationships with men that we're not married to. There's no friendships like that. You are a convert. You have to adapt a new way of living, a new lifestyle, a new ideology, a new identity, a new character, new way of existing. Let that jahiliyyah, that pre-Islamic ignorance go. Y'all understand? You have to change. You might have to leave, move to a different city, different state, different country to get away from all of that if you have to. Okay? Last question. Abdullah suffered a stroke and he almost died. After recuperating, he promised to make his life better by getting closer to Allah and becoming a better Muslim. This is an example of which type of awakening? Is this an awakening is this an example of a near-death awakening? Or is this an example of an awakening due to an adversity or a hardship? Or is this an example of an awakening due to recognizing Allah's pleasure? Which one is most correct? Most correct.
Else, what is awakening, near-death awakening?
Yes, I would say that too.
I say hardship, number 2.
Okay, it could be all three, but the most correct is number 1. This is an example of a near-death awakening. Why? Because he almost died. That's the key. He almost died. This was a near-death experience. And that happens to a lot of us. A lot of us, when we suffer with a near-death experience, that can trigger a total eclipse of the heart and cause our Fitrah to reawaken. And you will hear people say, I almost died, so now I want to change. I don't want to ever go through that. I need to get my deeds together. I need to start praying, get more prayers under my belt. I need to get more good deeds under my belt. So a lot of these reawakenings of the heart occur after near-death experiences. Of course, it's a hardship, but when you almost faced with death, whoa, that'll shock you. Remember, the prophet said, never forget the destroyer of pleasure, and that's death. Death can scare the heck out of anybody. Because we all say, oh, I wished I was dead. Oh, I wished I was dead, until you get that visit. Oh, no. You'll be wishing you could come back. Nobody wants to die because it's final. Okay? So different things can trigger the total eclipse of the heart, as I call it, and it's a shame, but that's the state of man. Okay, that's how we are when we come into this world as human beings. You know, it takes a shake up in life, you know, to cause us to want to wake up, you know, and change the condition of ourselves. And even, can y'all believe it? There are still some people that experience these experiences and still don't change, though. There's people that still say, "Well, I've survived it," you know, and hey, I'm the bionic man, and they still go back to their old ways. They continue to drink. They continue to have sex out of wedlock. We got Muslims like this, guys. They experience near death. They experience this stuff and go back to smoking weed. They go back to messing around with women on the internet. Women go back to their old ways. You know, it's just really sad. So to end this chapter, you know, we're going to focus in on, again, the role that allegiance and disassociation plays, because again, all of this is part of that testimony of faith. When we declare La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are also pledging our allegiance to Allah, our allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our allegiance to each other, and our allegiance to this religion. And we're also pledging to distance ourselves from any and everything that comes between all of that, or conflicts with all of that. So Wala Wal Bara, those principles serve as a foundation for personal growth. Those principles encompass allegiance and love for what aligns with our Islamic values. Okay, these principles extend beyond our relationships with ourselves and with others, and they play a significant role in our individual growth. You're not going to grow as a Muslim unless you get your allegiance together, and unless you learn to disassociate from any and everything that contradicts our allegiance to Allah and this religion. Okay, so let's take a look at allegiance and disassociation in various contexts. Personal allegiance entails being steadfast in our faith and living in harmony with our Islamic values. This allegiance involves, number one, practicing this religion in its totality, not picking and choosing what parts of Islam to practice. And this is important because in 2025, we have women and men picking and choosing. We got men who are shaving their beard. They're listening to other famous speakers tell them that they can trim the beard when Allah says you can't. The Prophet Muhammad said you cannot trim your beard. Period. Dot. We got Muslim women that are wearing tight-fitting clothing because they're listening to brothers put out fatwas saying that they can because they're working as professional women. First of all, who said you can do that too? Okay, you can't do that. Okay, you can work, but you never compromise your Islamic laws for that. We have to dress the way Allah commanded. I used to work, I just retired, and I worked as a professional. I worked for the government, but I always wore abayas, and they were loose fitting. I always wore khimars like I am on this internet, and I was always the best dressed and stylish, just like I am. And I never compromised my Islamic values for that. Okay? So this allegiance involves practicing Islam, improving our character, and seeking knowledge of our religion to strengthen our faith. Okay, we don't compromise this stuff ever. Also, we have to surround ourselves with positive influences and distance ourselves from the negative influences. This is vital for our personal growth. You can work, But after the job, we don't go out for drinks. After the job, we don't go out and hang out with and smoke cigarettes. After the job, we don't go out with the men for dinner. We don't do that. We don't intermingle off the job like that. We have to be mindful of the company we keep, the media we consume, and the environments we immerse ourselves in. I was a professional for 36 years working for the government, and I was highly respected on my job. Subhanallah, my job knew, they knew what I could do as a Muslim woman and what I couldn't do. Okay? So, to apply allegiance and disassociation principles for our personal growth, we have to evaluate our current relationships and our influences. We have to reflect on our relationships and influences. We have to identify those who we align with and how they impact our faith and our growth goals. We have to nurture positive relationships and gradually distance ourselves from harmful or toxic consequences. Subhanallah, I worked for the Department of Developmental Disabilities. Okay? That's the department I worked for. We had cottages. You know what I did to protect my faith? I chose to work a cottage with all women. Oh, yes. To prevent myself from being in a toxic environment. I was young when I started working for the government. I had graduated from college. Okay? They hired me. I was hired by the governor of my state. Okay? He knew I was Muslim. I said, I want to work on a female college because I was good looking, young. I said, all females. He said, you got it. All my co-workers were women. Okay? I made sure that I distanced myself from harmful or toxic environment that could lead to toxic consequences. So you're going to have to do that. Keep your faith in mind. As I stayed with the government, my seniority grew. Where I've always had seniority and can choose my workplace. I always worked with women. I never worked with men. I was always high in seniority, and I chose my location, and I've always worked with women. My job never compromised my religious belief. Okay? You have to set boundaries and make conscious choices. Establish boundaries based on your faith and your values. Be intentional in your choices. Make sure that they align with your principles. I became a union steward. Oh, yeah, I became the vice president. Oh, yeah. I became chief steward too. Oh, yeah, I worked with women and men, but I was never one-on-one with no man. I always marched, always had my stewards with me. When I had to represent a person, I was never alone with a man. If I had to represent a male, I always had another person in the room with me. Okay? When I had to arbitrate, when I had to mediate, because I became a paralegal too, later on as I grew up in position, I was never alone with a client. I never compromised my faith, never compromised my religion. And then when I wasn't doing the union business and had to go to my cottage and be what I was with the developmentally disabled, I worked a female unit. Hello. When the clients became aggressive and I had to deal with them with their gin possession, that's when we called for male backup. And I was never alone with a man. We had 10 men and 10 women. Hello, we could handle it. You have to set boundaries and make conscious choices on the workplace. I wore bias to work every day. Kimars, like how you see me dressed on the internet, but I wore pants underneath my bias. So if I had to deal with a possessed client, I can take them down my abaya stretch. No client ever ripped my clothes off. My kimars go right inside like this. I'm still covered. No client ever ripped anything off. No man ever seen my body. No man ever seen my hair. My skin never showed. And I can take them down on the floor and hold them down in any type of hold that I had to put them in. No skin ever seen, because there was always pants on. Harem pants. I wore harem pants underneath. Oh yeah, Arabia, harem pants underneath my abayas. Make conscious choices. These fatwas, these brothers putting out, telling you sisters to compromise your deen because you're in a professional field, that's garbage. I was professional too. I never compromised my deen. You have to embrace new positive associations and habits. Seek positive associations and communities that support your growth. I had a strong Islamic community that supported me. They were Muslims too, like me, grassroots Muslims who didn't compromise their faith either. Okay? You have to engage in activities that enhance your understanding of Islam and encourage positive habits. So embracing Wala Wal Bara, embracing allegiance and disassociation principles is a powerful way to enhance your personal growth and spiritual transformation. It keeps your Fitrah alive and ignited. It helps you to remain loyal to your faith and values and principles while actively choosing positive influences. Okay? Your growth will continue. And by the way, I continue to teach every day on this internet. I was given dawah every day on this internet and working every day. And we got many examples from the Quran, many examples from the Sunnah, how the companions never compromised their faith either. So we have to plant the seed of allegiance and disassociation, just like we have to plant the tree of Tawheed. When that Fitrah, when the Fitrah within your heart awakens, that's when you get busy planting the tree of Tawheed in your heart. And we talked about that. The tree of Tawheed that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam planted in his. And when you plant that tree of Tawheed in your heart, you have to also put the seed of Wala Wal Bara in there too and nurture it. Nurture it with knowledge of allegiance, because most Muslims don't know what allegiance to Allah entails. Most Muslims don't know what allegiance to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam entails. They think that Wala Wal Bara is simply love and hate. I don't use those terms. No, it's allegiance and disassociation. We disassociate from anything that's not a part of our religion, such as birthdays. That's worshiping something other than Allah. We disassociate from holidays because we have no allegiance to those. Our allegiance is only to what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with. We have no allegiance to the 4th of July. That's not a part of our way. We have no allegiance to Mother's Day because Islam teaches us to respect and honor our mother every day, not one day out the year. We have no allegiance to no New Year's Day because that's not a part of our way of life. There's no allegiance to any of that. Our allegiance is only to Islam, not any other way. So we have to plant the seed of allegiance and disassociation. And by nurturing those seeds, this is how we align ourselves with Allah's decree. This is how we uphold his commands and his prohibitions. And this is how it becomes a transformative process that influences our thoughts, our choices, our actions, and guides us towards a life that is in harmony with his guidance and pleasing to him. And that's how we keep that light of the Fitrah glowing and burning. So we're going to stop right there. Are there any questions or comments? And we're going to talk about this more on Friday in our Islam Q&A class, because that's the topic for that as well. Any questions or comments? Inshallah. Any questions or comments? And by the way, guys, we haven't received that many donations at all for the past few weeks. If you guys are enjoying learning Islam in its truthfulness with the understanding of the companions, you guys have to support this website, because it costs $2,000 a month to pay for the videos, the strings. It's expensive to put this stuff out, these videos and stuff. Nothing is free on the internet anymore. And we only have $200 in our account right now. The donations that the sisters donated in the beginning of the month, thank you. You guys got us through till now. Now we're down to just $200. So we need to get through the rest of the month. We still got, this is the 16th. We got to the end of the month. And the donations y'all sent at the beginning are gone. We only have $200 left now. Please donate, guys. I don't know what we're going to do when this $200 is gone. Y'all are log in. Ain't going to be no Sunnahfollowers. So please, we need donations. And I want y'all to remember, anybody who donates $100 or more, you get to choose the topic for the Islam Q&A. So if you make a $100 donation, send me an email with your topic. Okay? You know, because the Muslims are they're not intelligent, brother Muhammad, brother Shahid. They're not learning the religion. The people that don't know the difference don't come to my classes. The people who know the difference come to my classes. The people that you're arguing with are people that don't come to my classes. They, just like most Muslims don't know what the word divine means. I had to explain what the word divine means. Most Muslims can't read. It's not their fault, brother Shahid. They can't read. I don't know what these schools are teaching today. I don't know what kids are learning in school today. They don't know what the word divine means. So if they don't know what the word divine means, how do they know what the word revert means? They don't know what a fitrah is. So they don't come to my classes. So if they're not learning Islam, how do they know? Most Muslims learn off of the internet. They look at YouTube, and the people on YouTube don't know what they're talking about. Those are people that's getting money, getting paid off of the ignorance of others. So you need to stop arguing with these people. These people don't know Islam. They have no one teaching them. They don't know what the word divine means. They don't know what the word revert means. They don't know what convert means. They don't know what the fitrah is. So that's why they calling themselves a revert. They don't know what the fitrah is. They never heard of it. So stop arguing with them. Let them call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. They don't know. They don't know no better. The only people that know better are the people that learn. So don't argue with them. Let them call themselves anything they want. You know? Don't argue with them. You guys know better. Okay? Yeah. It's sad. Now do y'all see why it's going to be more people in hell? That's why it's going to be more people in hell. They don't know. Not because they didn't receive the message. It's because they refused it or didn't learn it. Most Muslims are not learning Islam. They don't know nothing about this religion. They just don't know. They're not learning. Well, you have to be intelligent, Brother Shaheed. I can give you the evidence that the sky is blue. But if you're not intelligent to know what blue, the difference between blue and red, it doesn't make sense. Some people just don't have the intelligence because they haven't been taught. They haven't been taught the difference between the color red and the color blue. So if you say, look, that's blue, they're going to say it's still red because I was taught that was red. They're going by what they were taught. So just leave them alone. They're ignorant. People don't know the difference between a braid and a dreadlock. Do you know how many people are on the internet arguing about me right now? They're calling me names because they're too stupid to know the difference between a braid and a dreadlock. They don't like the fact that I gave the dalil that you cannot let your hair grow in locks and knots. They tells me the prophet wore braids. I didn't mention nothing about braids. The prophet's wives wore braids too. I wear braids sometimes. I didn't say it's haram to wear braids. The prophet said it's haram to let your hair grow and lock up. People are stupid. They don't know that what a lock is, a knot of locked hair and a braid. So why are you arguing with them? They're stupid. What's the point? People are stupid. Let them go. They're just dumb. They're just stupid. They're just stupid. Yeah. That's why the prophet said in another hadith, the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, never argue with a foolish person. If you argue with a foolish person, he'll hurt you. If you argue with a wise person, you will make him hate you. So just turn away. Allah says in the Quran, turn away from the ignorant people. Just turn away. When people are ignorant and stupid, just turn away from them. Don't argue with them because they're stupid. They'll hurt you. Yeah, they're so stupid. They don't know the difference between blue and red, a braid and a lock. Just walk away. Yeah, they're stupid. Yeah. Yeah. The next class, yes, tonight at 9:30, guys, we have the Mecca-Siddiq Tafsir. Yeah, the Mecca-Siddiq Tafsir Volume 3. Yes, and we're still doing Surah Baqarah. Surah Baqarah, inshallah. Yeah, Brother Muhammad Ziyada's class is canceled. Yeah, Brother Muhammad Ziyada's class is canceled tonight because he said he's not feeling good. Yes, Sister Saba, this is one of the signs. Yeah, time passes quickly. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you go around thinking that the last hour is going to happen tomorrow. No, it ain't no time soon, Sister Saba. It's just one of the signs, that's all. Okay. All right, guys. Inshallah, I'll be back at inshallah at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time for the Metcalf Siddiq Tafsir Volume 3. Okay? Okay. All right. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.